All right, I'll just do a couple minute warning. Some more people can hop in. We've been on for 8 minutes. It's just been running, right? So let's give it like 2 more minutes. So at 10 minutes after the live stream started, we'll get going. So give it a couple more minutes for some more people to jump on. All right. I'm assuming everybody can hear me, right? Use the chat in YouTube just to confirm. Yep, cool. All right. So I got a few things I want to cover with you guys. For people who are watching this later, I'll probably just cut out the first 10 minutes. I think I could do that. Yeah, I could edit it, so that way when I actually came on is when they'll see it. But anyway, so just so you guys know, I'm getting pretty sick. For those who don't know, I have 1-year-old twins, and one of them has croup, which is when they get a cold, it can turn into croup, which is this really horrible cough. So everybody in the house is sick. It sucks. I'm going to try to keep this relatively short. But I'm going to go through some important things. I'm going to want to talk about all the fundamentals behind Bolt, a little bit of technical details. I really want to touch base with you guys on drama that's naturally going to come with it, and I'll explain why. I think that's probably the most important thing. So for people who don't know me, my name's Jesse Feinberg. I've been doing this for a few years now. My Twitter account, I had 20,000 followers, 22 or something thousand tweets. That account got banned, unfortunately. So if you're following my new Twitter account, that's great. I appreciate it. I will not talk about contentious issues or offend people with the new account. I don't want to risk losing my my portal to talk to all you guys. But for those who either followed me on my old account and have known me over the last few years, you obviously know all this stuff. For those who don't, for new people who don't know me, let me just get a couple key things out of the way. One of the things, the drama related to Bolt, is anytime a lot of influencers and analysts on Twitter, especially people who have a reputation, who have a pretty large following, like me and some other people, are all talking about a coin, there's always a bunch of people who just think the worst of everybody, right? They say, oh, that's a pump and dump coin, and oh, look at this guy, he's just pumping a coin. There are a bunch of really skilled and well-known analysts that are talking about Bolt right now, and some of them have gotten a lot of flack from people. I'm friendly with some of them, and I really like them, and I always defend them when people call them pump and dump people and stuff like that. I think it's rude, and I don't think it's rooted in fact, but we don't have to get into all that. I just want to convey to you, for people who don't know me, that of my former 20,000 followers, you won't find a single person who would make that accusation about me. I have never been accused of lying or intentionally misleading the crypto Twitter community. I have never once deleted a single tweet. I have never once blocked somebody who disagreed with me and argued with me about crypto stuff. People who are disruptive and prevent me and other people from having a meaningful discussion, I've had to ban them. But I'm not one of those people who bans everybody. I have no problem with engaging with people who disagree with me. Even in this live stream, if I'll do, depending on how I'm feeling, a quick Q&A at the end. And if you think I'm just talking nonsense, for those who do know me, it's unusual for me not to cuss a lot, but I'm trying to behave myself, because some people who aren't familiar with my work are tuning in and they don't know that I have a potty mouth. So as long as you guys understand from the outset that I'm not one of those people who gets those accusations. I'm never told that I'm a scammer or anything like that. I'm probably, I don't want to say but probably among the most honest and transparent people in this game. For those, again, who don't know that I share my name, I've also never hidden what I look like. I'm wearing a bathrobe and a hoodie because I'm cold and sick, and my office is a mess, but this is me. Hello. I do videos all the time. I share pictures of my family, so very open and honest. Now that we got that out of the way, you have at least a little bit of an understanding of who I am. I do a private crypto group with Chart Vampire, Big Jonas, and the Cryptomist. We share all of our charts and analysis and trade ideas. We do a lot of educational content where I teach, and the other guys teach everybody everything we know about crypto and trading. It's a really great community, and I focus a lot of my energy on that as well. But most of the time I'm trading altcoins, shorter term. I teach a lot of risk management stuff. So I'm getting into this trade, you do what you want. But I'm setting a stop loss here, so I can barely take a loss, worst case scenario. But if it goes well, I can make a lot of money. And that's usually attractive to people, because risk management is an issue that a lot of people aren't that successful with. So let me get my sick mug off the screen. So now that we have that out of the way, let me dive into a little further really quick on the dramatic thing. So the only negativity I've seen about Bolt on crypto Twitter are people who see, not really me, again, nobody really thinks this about me. I've never been accused of pumping coin. It's never happened. Nobody's ever accused me of lying or being dishonest or a scammer. It just doesn't happen. But there are other people who get those accusations all the time, and I don't want to get into defending all of them, but that's kind of the root of the only negativity that's anywhere relating to Bolt. I'm not seeing people who are criticizing the project, and we're going to dive into the project, and I'll explain some of the things I absolutely love about it. But one of the key things you need to understand, when you do see people saying, hey, this guy and that guy are both tweeting about this one project at the same time, they're just trying to pump it so they can dump on all you guys. There's a few key things to consider. One of the things that they highlight is, look at the chart. You could see all this volume just came out of nowhere. That means this is a pump and dump scam. Or they'll say, hey, these 2, 3, 4 people are talking about this coin, and they don't have, they have a lot of people who call them scammers and stuff. So this must be a pump and dump coin. Some people will show erratic price changes over the last few months and say that this indicates an issue. All of that is nonsense, and I'm going to get into that. There was an audit that the company was having done by KPMG, one of the major financial audit firms. And during that time and during that process, deposits were disabled on KuCoin and BitMEX, really all the exchanges. You can't disable deposits on a decentralized exchange, but on the other exchanges, deposits were in fact disabled. For that reason, there was not very much volume, and the price swings could be erratic because there wasn't a lot of liquidity. But the way that really affects this whole situation is why everybody is talking about it right now. So I don't team up with people to plan to promote a coin. I don't get paid to promote coins. I've gotten paid for like 2 posts ever, and I put ad or paid advertisement hashtag in it, and it was to talk about a new exchange that had just come out. I've never been paid to talk about any coins, but there's obviously no plan to do anything like that. So everybody understands the organic way that this whole community came together, with all the crypto Twitter people that are pretty well-known analysts like myself and other people are talking about it at the same time. You can go and look at Bolt's official Telegram channels. There's a Bolt Army, which is for the most ardent supporters, and then there's a regular Bolt Global official Telegram channel. If you go back and look at August, September, October, you'll see for months me and all these other analysts were popping in there, and then you would see all these people say, whoa, look who just showed up. I know that guy from Twitter. I would see other analysts and say, man, I'm really onto something because I just saw these other 2 guys show up that are known to be really good analysts. For months, we were all talking about the amazing fundamentals of the coin. We were all talking about how excited we were to finally be able to talk about this thing publicly. And we were all talking about the audit. If you go back and look at 3 months of posts, you'll see all of us analysts that are currently talking about Bolt right now. We're publicly in the Telegram with hundreds or thousands of people, not in some private DM, talking to everybody and saying, this is what I love about the coin. This is why I'm not talking about it publicly. And the reason why is because if we had talked about it publicly, since we all have a lot of followers, if that ended up encouraging people to buy the coin, which I want to mention something about that also in a second, but if that encouraged people to get the token, it might have caused this rapid pump in price, and nobody wanted that because everybody has really high expectations for this thing as either a midterm or long-term potential play. So it was really important to everybody that we kind of kept our mouth shut and didn't talk about it until the audit was complete and deposits resumed on KuCoin and BitMax. At that point, we'd see money moving around between the exchanges. Before then, there was a difference of like, at some points, it was almost like 100% difference. The price of Bolt tokens was twice as much on KuCoin as it was on BitMax. And people were pointing to that as a reason to be suspicious about this coin because they didn't understand what was going on. There was an audit, deposits were closed on those exchanges, so there was limited liquidity. As a result, there was a huge gap between the pricing on different exchanges, and the second that audit was done and deposits resumed on those exchanges, we reached parity almost immediately, meaning the price tanked on KuCoin and the price spiked up on BitMax, and then they were at the same price level, and from that point we continued moving forward. That's exactly when I posted. The second they announced that deposits were open on those exchanges, I posted about it on Twitter, and then other analysts followed over the next couple days. Since then, there's been a dramatic increase in volume because the audit is over and deposits resumed on the exchanges, increasing the liquidity pool. And now that a lot of people are talking about it, we have a lot of people who are looking into it, getting interested in it, and buying the token. So there's nothing suspicious about it. There's nothing inorganic about it. This is extremely organic, and you can actually see over the course of months, everybody was talking about how this would play out in the telegrams. All that, those chats are all there. You can see it. I was explaining to people how it would work. Right now, there's limited volume and limited liquidity, but once the deposits are enabled on the exchanges, we're going to see a quick parity check, and we're going to see the exchanges rapidly match up, and then from there, we'll move up with a dramatic increase in volume. So that's how this whole thing came together, and that's why people who are uninformed and don't really understand this stuff, when they see all the volume on a chart, they don't know what could happen behind the scenes to cause that, so they're just clueless. I'm not saying that to attack them. They're not necessarily being malicious, but they will make assumptions based on information that they don't have because of things that they don't understand. They might not have the knowledge or skill set to really see what's happening, so hopefully that clarifies why some of those things that people are mentioning, you know, all this volume or all these people talking about it. The reason why everybody's talking about it now is because the audit ended, and for months, 10, 20 times a day, people were in those telegrams asking, when is this audit going to end? We can't wait for this audit to end. So one more detail about me personally. For anybody who still heard everything I just explained and thinks that I'm trying to pump a coin, let me just be brutally honest with you. I don't give a crap if you buy Bolt. If everybody watches this video and then goes and sells all their Bolt, I couldn't care less. I actually encourage you not to buy Bolt after watching this video. What I would encourage you to do instead is to watch what we go over right now, which I'll get to in 30 seconds. I'm done with my earlier spiel. And then afterwards, Go and look into the sources that I showed you. Go and look for other sources that I didn't show you and see if you can find out more information. And after you look at all of that, you're either going to say, wow, Jesse is on point. He found this really great coin. He broke down some really great fundamentals. I looked in and fact-checked everything. I think I might want to get into this token. Or you might say, oh man, Jesse missed these details and clearly this isn't as good as he thinks it is. And that's fine. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me whether or not you buy a cryptocurrency token. It's irrelevant to my life. It doesn't affect anything that I do. You do whatever you want to do. I just encourage everybody to research it, see if you can prove me right, see if you can prove me wrong. Whatever you're comfortable with doing, go ahead and do. Not my problem. So, with all that being said, hopefully that clarifies everything. And if you have questions about all that stuff, you can ask me in a very, very brief Q&A when I'm done with the rest of my spiel. So let's talk about the actual project, right? I want to go over the fundamentals of the project first and foremost. I'll discuss the technical analysis a tiny bit, but for those who aren't really skilled with TA, one of the lessons that I constantly teach people is when you see certain things that aren't organic on charts, that sort of invalidates TA to a large extent. So for the 3-month period that audit was underway when deposits were disabled on the exchanges, that dramatically affected the liquidity pool and the tradable volume on these exchanges. And as a result, that entire section of the chart can't really be relied upon to provide the indicators that you would need to justify an analytical prediction based on the technicals. So I'll show you that. I'll touch base with you on the chart in a few, but let's just run through the actual company so you understand why it is that me and so many other people found this coin, told other people, told our friends about it, all jumped in and started talking about it and researching it, and why people generally think it has such high potential. Bolt, so everybody understands at least what they do. They're a content delivery platform. I don't want to get into too much of the details. I'm not going to read you the white paper. Since I'm not feeling well, I'll show you a bunch of sources that I would encourage every one of you to go read on your own. But just to get the basics out of the way, Bolt's mission statement, I haven't read their mission statement, but from everything I know about them, they want to get, oh, here we go. So they actually want to get low bandwidth smartphones, people around the world without high-speed broadband, Africa, areas of Asia. They want everybody to be able to be connected and get content, right? So they want to deliver video content to everybody. Using their Bolt Plus app, you can stream live video of a bunch of TV stations. You could watch short clips, some of which are from YouTube, of different sporting events and things like that. Over time, some of the development that I see happening is essentially live video for sporting events and essentially everything under the sun, not limited to just those short summary clips, but that's something you'll explore when you look at the actual app. Everybody should download the Bolt Plus app. It's free. But that's essentially what the app does. Now, they have a lot of information on the site. I don't want to go through all this stuff, but some of the things they mention is how they actually pay those Bolt tokens to users who are watching the content and to content creators. So there are a lot of tokenomics that you can research. You can look at the white paper and read a lot about that stuff. There are other things that I will mention that aren't too in-depth, like staking. We'll get to that in a minute. But check out their main website. You'll see a lot of information to introduce you to what it is, what they do, links to some of the articles on Medium. I'm actually going to show you some of those directly. I already have them pulled up. They explain the ecosystem, and you could read all about the tokenomics and what all the various use cases are for their tokens. And you can see there's partnerships with all these companies where they are authorized, officially partnered with these companies to provide live video. And in some cases, they have partnerships to deliver not necessarily live video, but still, they've developed a lot of partnerships, which, again, we will quickly mention. So check out the website. You can see all this stuff. Now, one of the places that you should definitely pay attention on the website, you should read the white paper. If you check out the white paper from here, I think I have it pulled up on another tab right here. This actually explains a lot of the introductory stuff before it gets in-depth into tokenomics and more of the complicated concepts. It's obviously a lot better than other white papers, some of which we know have been directly copied and pasted from other companies. But it's really interesting what they're doing. Nobody else is doing it, at least not this successfully. And I'll show you how they're actually doing it successfully in a minute. But yeah, this breaks down a lot of those details. They talk about the team, which I'm going to jump into next. And then you could look into the actual tokenomics and read the more detailed technical aspects of the project and what they're going to be able to do. Microtransactions paid through local telco for access to Bolt. So essentially, they'll partner up with the telecom companies like AT&T or something, and you can stream content and get paid for watching content or generating content using Bolt tokens. These are big things they're working on. It really is cool stuff. I encourage everybody to read about it. But the more important fundamentals that I want people to focus on here, you can easily research what the company does and look at all the various use cases they have and look at the tokenomics and read the white paper. One of the things that I'd really like to focus on is stuff like the team. So think about some of the other coins that we've heard about that were supposed to be these great coins. All these analysts said, oh, I love Scroll. Scroll's going to be amazing. I got burned on Scroll. A lot of you guys got burned on Scroll. When it first came out, I did very well trading it. And then I took a nice portion of those profits and put it into a long-term bag. And I've lost all that money because the thing crashed and we got essentially scammed out of it. It wasn't really a scam. There's a lot more nuance to it. But that's something I have no fear of with Bolt. Wait till you see this. So one of the things that you guys should be aware of is the difference between companies like that, these cryptocurrency companies like Scroll. We all fell for, not all of us, some of you guys obviously stayed away, but a lot of us fell for the whole situation with that and other coins where we were told this is the future, they have all this promise, and essentially it was just a really well-packaged and well-marketed pipe dream. It wasn't malicious. They didn't try to rip anybody off. It was a legitimate company with really great tech and great ideas, but they didn't have the personnel in place to take this thing to where it needs to go, right? And this is something that I'm especially proud of with Bolt, and this gives me an insane amount of confidence in Bolt. So one of the things I want you guys to check out are the team. When you look at like Scroll and other coins, but that one specifically, it had these young kids who hadn't really done anything. You look at their LinkedIn, they never really had a serious career, and they had this idea that was great, but they didn't know how to run a business. They didn't know how to do this stuff. They didn't know how to grow and expand. You're not going to have that fear when it comes to Bolt. So looking at the team, the two people that I would focus on would be Crystal and Jamal. Obviously, they're the two at the top, co-founders. But I think it would be a really funny exercise. I'm not going to pull up other teams from other coins, but if you hear about other coins that we got screwed over on, some of which I might have just mentioned, look at the people who started that company and go check out their LinkedIn. You'll see one or two lines, right? These people have no careers, no experience. Then you see Crystal, one of the co-founders of Bolt. Look at her career. She was head of content at Twitter for 2 years for international markets in China and Russia. That's amazing. Imagine how much experience she has as a professional in the social media industry. So she was head of content, meaning content delivery, which is exactly what Bolt does. She is perfectly suited for this. And before that, she has years and years of experience in media groups and other companies. She is dramatically qualified for what she's doing with Bolt, a million times more so than the young, inexperienced people that have been involved in these earlier projects that fell apart and didn't live up to their promise. Now, Bolt, in many ways, already is living up to the promise. And one of the things I'd love for you guys to check out, let me show you Jamal's too, just so you can see. Jamal, I'm going to yell at you because you really need to have a profile picture. But besides that, your LinkedIn clearly demonstrates that you are experienced. You have 15 years with one company. That shows that you're dedicated, you're able to move up. So I'm obviously very confident that you know what you're doing in addition to Crystal. And I feel like the two of you finding this company together offers a level of security to people who are concerned about cryptocurrency-based companies with the things that we've seen with some of the other companies that fell apart. We don't really have those issues in the case of Bolt. So that being said, one of the other great resources I'd love for you guys to check out is their Medium. And there are a few key things in their Medium that you should focus on. One of the main reasons why me and a lot of other analysts got so excited about Bolt is that they're actually profitable and they have a real life product that's working. You could download the Bolt Plus app. You can use this product and experience it for yourself, and it works exceptionally well. But more importantly, they're able to make money through all their partnerships. They're able to generate revenue. They are making money. How many cryptocurrencies, like, look at some of the ones that we got screwed over on before, were those companies making profits? Did they have promises or did they have profits? So if you look at their medium, you can see here's Q1 2019 business performance. Obviously, I'm not going to dive into it all the way. 18% net profit margin. They have quarterly financials, so they're doing quarterly financial reports. They're extraordinarily transparent. And if you actually refer back to their About Us page, in addition to learning more about the team, if you drop down, they even have like the group structure of the companies themselves. You know how a lot of these companies are like, whether it's Bitfinex, we have no idea that it's actually owned by this other company. We didn't know that Scroll was owned by Solutech. And a lot of that information is, it's not that it's necessarily detrimental to the company to share it, but they don't go out of their way to be that transparent, and Bolt does. So it's just a minor detail I like about Bolt. They're also expanding, hiring a lot of people. They have offices around the world. They're currently expanding right now, which I can show you in a second. But if you look at their Q1, Q2, again, profits, 14% profit margin, bringing in $3.4 million in revenue. This is a cryptocurrency company that has an actual product that's functioning, not a theoretical use case, and they are making money. They are expanding and opening offices around the world. They are hiring employees that are actually qualified and experienced. This is something we're not used to seeing in crypto, and that's what was so attractive to me and a lot of other people who found their way towards this project. So you should definitely look at all the milestones and updates they include in their various earnings reports. You can see they list some of the deals they have where they're partnering up, like they partnered up with the Rugby World Cup, for instance. They were a sponsor with the Rugby World Cup, and their co-sponsor was Hisense, the phone manufacturer in Asia. And what they've actually done is they got a deal with Hisense. You know how when you used to get the iPhone, it had YouTube included as the main content delivery app to watch videos? Well, the Bolt Plus app is going to come stock on those Hisense phones, on a bunch of those Hisense. I don't remember which models, but you know, that's huge. That's a major market in Asia, and Hisense is a major company in Asia, obviously. So there are going to be a lot of people that have access to their platform that didn't even know about it before, that get a default installed app and they open it up and see that it can deliver live TV, it can deliver highlights from different sporting events, and a lot of other features you'll learn about moving forward. So that said, you clearly want to go through all this stuff and learn more about all the things they're doing, learn more about their quarterly earnings. They also report on some of the metrics with respect to the tech side of things. Yeah, almost 3 million viewers in Q3, 36 million and change impressions, a lot of active monthly users. So this isn't a company that just started out and struggling to get going. They are fully running. They are making money. They are bringing in revenue, and they have a pretty impressive profit margin. 15% profit margin would be impressive for a regular company, let alone something like a cryptocurrency company, which we know from our experience, we've seen a lot of companies try and fail because they don't have the infrastructure and the teams in place to do this sort of stuff. So I would encourage you to read all of that stuff in more depth, again, on their Medium. Sorry, I can't go into this in more detail and read these articles to you. Again, sick. I'm trying to keep this relatively short. I have a tendency to ramble a lot. I've done a lot of 5-hour-long live streams. I don't want to go there. I'm going to try to get in and out and stop bugging you pretty soon. One of the other great things they talk about on their Medium, they have the Bolt Vault, where they release important news and updates on the project and what they're doing. This is the most recent update. It was from, what, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, the 21st. So they talked about how deposits resumed. They're also doing a token burn. I forgot to mention that earlier, but the token burn is something else that's incredible about this project. It is such a low market cap, and the circulating supply, it's not necessarily a low circulating supply, but any company that does a coin burn, think about what BNB has done, right, for Binance. When they do a coin burn, for anybody who's not familiar with the basics of financial science and theory, supply and demand is really all that matters. Everything boils down in one way or another to supply and demand. If somebody finds a huge mountain that's filled with gold and they mine it, the price of gold is going to go down because they flooded the market with all of this additional gold. It's not as rare anymore. Diamonds are rare, therefore they're expensive. But if you know about the insides of the diamond industry, you'll know that they're actually not rare. They keep a lot of diamonds in underground vaults and hide them because they want to artificially reduce the amount of diamonds on the market to artificially manipulate and increase the price. When you have a company that's doing essentially the opposite of that, they are burning tokens, not just keeping them for themselves. They are eliminating tokens from the circulating supply, which is unavoidable. What that's going to do in every single instance is reduce the supply. And if the demand remains constant, you don't even need to have people trying to buy it, increasing the demand. If the standard demand is constant, having a smaller supply will automatically mean that the value of the actual asset goes up. So the token burn's huge. They just, 100 grand worth of tokens. I think they're doing like 10, you have to fact check me on it. I don't feel like looking it up now. I think they're doing 10% of their total supply every year or something and splitting it up per quarter, but like 2.5% of their total available supply per quarter. I have it somewhere where they're going to be doing like a total of 100 million tokens are going to be burned, and that's their cap. But again, please double check me on that. They mention in this Bolt Vault update that the KPMG auditors have completed. They're going to provide more information. There are things that are probably going to come out about doing an equity raise or opening new lines of credit or expanding, and things that are heavily dependent on having that legitimate audit from one of the major financial consultancies, KPMG. So that was huge. That obviously demonstrates that they are a legit company. One guy even said on one of my tweets, "This looks like a fake company." I mean, come on. You can say that I don't trust Jesse. I don't know him. I don't trust all these other guys on Twitter talking about this coin. I'm going to look into it myself. It's utterly absurd to go to their website and suggest it's a fake company. That literally means you didn't do any research. You didn't even look at the About Us page. You don't even know who's part of this team. You don't even know what the white paper looks like. So clearly those people have no idea what they're talking about. They want to spread FUD for no reason. But I think we've addressed why people are spreading negativity. And it pretty much comes down to they're ignorant. They just don't know why things are the way they are. And it's pretty easy to figure out. They can watch this video if they're so inclined, or they can keep talking smack for absolutely no reason whatsoever and scaring people away from a potentially good opportunity that they might like if they otherwise had the freedom to look into it themselves and think for themselves. So again, Medium has a lot of great resources. One of the other pages I wanted to quickly show you before moving on the Medium page. One of the older vaults, I think it was the last one from June, September, day after my birthday, actually. They talked about staking. So what they're going to be doing with staking, and this is amazing. I'm obsessed with this feature. I don't really want to use the term gambling. I hate that for this, but in reality, you're staking Bolt tokens to win Bolt tokens. So you're going to go to a sporting event. And again, in the future, if they have the contracts in place to live stream these actual events, you'll be able to watch it live and place these stake your tokens on the game, essentially betting on the game while you're watching it live. Right now, the infrastructure's in place to watch some live stuff, but these sporting events are mostly just replays where they do the highlights. But again, that infrastructure is being built, and I think that's exactly where they're going with it. But check this out. You can stake 5 bolts and you make 20 on the Manchester and Chelsea game. You're essentially correcting you're predicting what's going to happen, betting, right? And if they're not calling it betting, but that's what you're doing. I think this is going to bring in a ton of people to the platform. I think there are a lot of people who are going to be doing staking more than anything else, purely joining for that one reason, because they actually get to use crypto to do what, again, I don't want to use the terminology, but it's essentially gambling. So you go to a gambling website and, they're annoying. Nobody trusts them. They constantly call you. I love when BetUS will call me. I haven't used their website in 10 years. They'll call me and try to give me promos. And every time they do, I'm like, yeah, I'm in Gamblers Anonymous. I lost everything. My wife left me. I just make up this horrible story to make them feel like jerks, because who calls people and tries to encourage them to gamble? It's so horrible. But anyway, I think a lot of people are going to join and love this feature. I think it's going to bring in a ton of new users to the platform, and I'm not exactly sure when they're launching it, but we will all know soon enough. They break down any more details now. You can look at all this stuff later again. Now, from a partnership perspective, I didn't dive into that too much, but I told you they did the Rugby World Cup. Which page was it that had a bunch of the other partners that they have? So they are doing the Olympics. They have a deal to, they are an official sponsor. I'm not sure if they're a sponsor. I don't want to say anything that's factually incorrect. And if I do, by all means, you guys can correct me. I'm wrong all the time. one of the things when people who aren't familiar with me, they're trying to like say, oh, Jesse's just another one of these crypto Twitter guys, you can't trust him. They'll post something like where I posted Bitcoin's never going below 10,000 again, or Scroll is going to go up a ton, and they post a screenshot of it like they're exposing me, and my response is always like, yeah, I was wrong. It happens all the time. Are you never wrong? Like, what do they think they're going to prove? Look at Jesse. He hasn't been right about every single thing in the history of the universe. So that means, by definition, everything he says must be wrong, right? These people are clueless. Anyway, so the Olympics, again. Come on, I really want to show you that. Where was it? There was the Olympics, some cricket stuff. Here we go. Women's World Cup, Tour de France. They're going to be providing Copa America, providing a lot of content from these events, and I'm not sure when they're going to be adding the staking feature, but you're going to be able to stake your Bolt tokens on these different sporting events. I think that's incredibly cool, and it's going to bring in an insane amount of new users. So, that being said, covered everything pretty much on the Medium side that I wanted to run through really quickly. I really want everybody to dive into that stuff in more detail and investigate it and read a lot more about it, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't cover in this quick review, obviously. What else should you guys use as a resource? Bolt's Twitter is a great resource. They constantly post important updates and links there. Here, for instance, they talked about their Hisense contract, their listing on KuCoin going through, new pairs on the Binance app. They have BEP2 conversion to Binance token. Hisense Global pre-installs in South Africa. So South African users who don't have access to broadband are going to be able to get content through the Bolt platform that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to get. So they're not only tokenizing essentially, content delivery in a great and creative way, but the results are amazing what they're able to do with it. They're able to bring content that these normal people normally wouldn't be able to access in certain parts of the world, especially in Africa and certain parts of Asia, where they might not have access to the broadband they would need to have live streams of high definition video. 70 million video streams. Wow. 5.3 million unique users. That's amazing. Operating revenues, 3.5 million. Again, they have this deal with the Olympics. They're going to be putting a lot of that Olympics content on Bolt. Imagine being able to and I don't know if staking is going to be launched in time for the Olympics. I don't know the timeline, but imagine watching the Summer Olympics. It is the Summer Olympics, right? Not the winter ones. Imagine watching the Olympics and betting on swimming, right? I would have bet 10,000 Bolt tokens that I don't know, this guy the American guy beats the Chinese guy in breaststroke swimming. It's you can't do that stuff easily and quickly normally, but to have this video streaming content delivery platform where you could just easily do that without going to a gambling website and then sending them money with Western Union and anyway, I think that's going to be huge. So I want you guys to research all that stuff as well. More collaborations and partnerships. One of the great things they're doing, and Crystal had actually posted about it in the Telegram. I encourage everybody to join the Telegram because you'll learn a lot more than I can tell you, or a lot more than you'll learn just from their Twitter. I don't even know if they've mentioned this on their Twitter, but Crystal told everybody she was at the NBA offices and she took pictures there and everything in New York. And she was meeting with them about potentially working out a deal where Bolt can deliver content for NBA games. So if you think about, you remember how the whole issue with China, and China threatened to stop broadcasting NBA games in China because they were in a conflict? Imagine if something like that happened, but then they could use Bolt Plus and still have access to that content. So it gives another avenue to people to not only deliver content, but to receive content. Again, really cool. If they put together a deal with the NBA, I think that would be absolutely epic. So yeah, check out, here's one of their new offices. Again, they're constantly expanding. But again, you can review all their stuff on Medium and on Twitter. And a bunch of other guys and analysts have made reports. Here's one. They break down a lot of the stuff I just explained in a lot more detail. So I think that'll be important if you want to get a deeper understanding of exactly what they're doing here. So I encourage you all to look at this stuff. All right, I think that covers it for the fundamental side of things. I'm going to very quickly go over the technical analysis because there's really not that much there to discuss, but I want to show you a couple quick things. Let me switch back to YouTube. Does anybody have any questions? I'll take 2 or 3 questions if you guys have any questions about the stuff I just covered. And so you're aware, I haven't seen any of the stuff you've asked in the chat because I had other stuff on my screens. So if you've already asked a question, I haven't seen it. I don't want to make this an infomercial for the group that I run with Chart Vampire, Big Jonas, and the Cryptomist, which teaches people everything that we know about trading so they can succeed in the market and learn how to manage risk properly and end up being exceptionally successful as a trader, both in the long term and midterm. I don't really want to make it an infomercial for that, so I'll just refer you to the website, fluxtradinggroup.com. That'll give you all the information you need. Otherwise, I'll feel bad about mentioning how, the group is amazing and we get tons of users who are extraordinarily happy with the group and they learn a lot because our Flux University section provides impeccable videos to teach them every single thing that I've ever learned, every method. Again, I don't want to talk about that stuff, so go to the website. But anyway, any questions about the Bolt stuff that I might actually know? How do USA customers sign up for the Bolt app? I just downloaded it. I'm in Boston. I just went to the App Store and downloaded the Bolt Plus app. There was no sign up necessary. So I didn't have to put in my phone number to get the app. I'm able to use it. Maybe to create an account, you need to use your phone number. In that case, I'm not familiar. I don't know, guys. But I am able to use it and actually view the content. I can live stream Al Jazeera and all the other TV stations they have. I can watch all the other video content they have. So I'm not sure what I'm missing out on by not having a phone number registered. But anyway, I didn't sign up and I have access to all the video content. You could also use a Google Voice number. For instance, I have 5 Google Voice numbers. I have a backup phone number on a couple of my older emails that I don't have Authenticator enabled for, and for those I use Google Voice numbers, so it's not my actual number. So one time somebody tried to SIM swap me and take over my phone to reset old email accounts. Can't do that if you're using a Google Voice number and nobody knows what it is. All right, so it sounds like nobody has a lot of questions about the stuff I covered, at least not stuff that I'm familiar enough to mention. Why all the Twitter fight about Bolt? Again, it's because some of the people, just if you came in late, watch the beginning of this. If you don't trust the other people who are talking about Bolt on Twitter, that's fine, guys. I understand that some of you might have followed trades that they suggested and lost money. I don't want to get into defending individual people again, but I'm friendly with some of these guys, and generally they'll share a trade. It'll do insanely good, and people will make a ton of money on it. And then at the top, they're still talking about it, and people get in late, and then they lose money, and then they say, oh, this guy's a scammer. That happens pretty often. That's why with some of these people on Twitter, these personalities, you'll see that they have rampant support. So many people follow them and absolutely love their content, and then some people think they're the worst people on earth. So the only way I can explain that is some people make money on their trades, some people get in late and don't. But a lot of people are hating on Bolt just because some of these popular accounts are talking about it. But again, forget about any of them. If you know me, if you followed me for the last 3-4 years on Twitter, you know me, you know I'm open and honest and transparent about everything. Never told a lie to you guys about a damn thing. I was going to make some jokes, but I'm trying to be PG here since there are some new people who aren't familiar with my twisted sense of humor. But anyway, all right. Yeah, someone mentioned, if you don't have Bolt, again, like I said earlier in the video, I don't care if you buy it. People are, you're doing a live stream to try to pump the price of Bolt. I couldn't care less if you bought Bolt. I bought it. I'm going to hold it for a while. I'll show you some things on the TA side now, really quick. And then I got to get some sleep and see if I can get better. I think I'm starting to get a fever too. Anyway, one of the things you'll notice immediately is this recent spike in volume. And people were pointing to that as proof of, people are trying to pump the price, right? Oh yeah, just so you guys understand, if you go to cointrader.pro, I'm going to post the link in the YouTube chat right now, actually. Cointrader.pro, you can use that link. And it uses the API, the software from TradingView, but it brings in data that TradingView actually doesn't use. So data that otherwise isn't usable on TradingView, you can use it this way and get the same interface. So using cointrader.pro, I'm able to look at the Bolt chart, which I can't get on TradingView because TradingView doesn't work with BitMax and KuCoin. Anyway, so this is the daily chart. This is from CoinMarketCap, so it's not specific to one exchange. All exchanges are different, all markets are different. This is showing you essentially the aggregate of all exchanges, but it still gives you a good general picture so you can understand certain things and see certain trends. Again, this coin's only 6 months old. It came out in April. It's not like this thing has been out forever and it's constantly manipulated. It came out, went on a huge run. Most of the people who got in from the ICO dumped it. I didn't even know it existed back then. I saw some people mention it on Twitter a couple times, but I had no interest in even looking at it. It wasn't until Davos, who's one of the admins in, he's part of the team. He's one of the admins in Telegram. He DM'd me in, what was it, August, I think, and said, dude, you got to come and check out this project I'm working on. It's amazing. So that was my first introduction where I really looked at it closely. And then as more skilled, well-known analysts were looking at this thing and diving into it, we were all discussing it with each other and talking to the whole community in Telegram, and everybody was just getting more and more into this thing. Because everywhere you look is another amazing fundamental analysis tool that you could apply, right? So I talked about for a while on my old Twitter how this is the best FA-based trade I've ever made. I've never had a trade that I've been this excited about from a fundamentals perspective. Not just looking at the charts, the team, what they're doing, that they're actually have an earnings report and they're making revenue and profits, they're expanding. Everything about it, it couldn't be further from things like Scroll. Somebody's like, oh, this is the next Scroll. Bolt is the next Scroll. Okay, yeah. Scroll was a company that had like a 20-year-old kid who never ran a business in his life, got millions of dollars, and ran the company into the ground because his great idea couldn't do anything when you had a young and inexperienced person in that position. And it's not even his fault, really. He was put into a position he couldn't sustain. But anyway, this is couldn't be further from that, right? You have people who are much older. No offense, Crystal. Not, but people who are much older, more experienced, and they actually have experience in media delivery. She was, again, head of content, regional content delivery for Twitter. She has the exact experience you would want in somebody finding and running this company. So from the technical side of things, once we got into August until now, really, you'll see the price was going up. Oh, one more thing. This is kind of funny because people who are claiming that everybody who's talking about Bolt now is just trying to pump up the price, right? This entire time, right, deposits were disabled. If really well-known popular people on Twitter, this is the exact reason why nobody talked about this thing publicly. Because if I started tweeting about Bolt and all these other analysts started tweeting about Bolt while deposits were closed on the exchanges and there was so little liquidity and volume, the price would have gone up 10,000%. If somebody wanted to pump the price, I mean, there were people in the Telegram, there were actually some analysts on Twitter who were still talking about it, and they would make a tweet and the price would radically spike up out of nowhere just from like a couple little tweets about it, and it's because the liquidity was so low. So the people who are now talking about it specifically waited for the audit to end and deposits to resume. The direct intent of me and all those other people that we openly talked about in the community with everybody else is that we didn't want to talk about anything publicly until the audit was done and we had the liquidity that we need. So that's one of the cool things you can see here. You could actually see there was still volume at that time, but it was pretty much everybody buying and selling to each other. There wasn't a lot of new money coming in due to the deposits issue. And then you could see there were points where we had a rapid spike, but it wasn't until recently. Now, the people who have been talking about Bolt on Twitter for the last like couple days, I think I was the first person who's pretty well known to talk about it. Within 5 minutes of them announcing that deposits were now resumed on KuCoin and BitMax, I was tweeting about it, and that was like the first couple really big candles. It wasn't until a day or two later that all those other people with other accounts started talking about it. So if anything, you could blame me for pumping it, which is absurd considering I used to have over 20,000 followers at one point, and now I have like 3,000. I don't have the ability to pump coins, guys. I didn't then with my old account where I had a much bigger following. I did all the time talked about coins, different trades that I got into, and some of them would immediately tank. Like if I had the ability to pump stuff, you would see all of my trades just instantly break out when I talk about them on Twitter, and that was pretty rare. Some of them did, but it always took a little while, and it was based on the TA, not just because I was, telling people to buy it. Again, I never tell people to buy anything. I don't care what people do. I'm worried about me and me alone. So that being said, let's look at the rest of this stuff. This entire portion right here is sort of invalidated. I'm not going to even look at the technicals more recently because none of it really makes sense. It's inorganic. It's people passing money back and forth. Nobody was talking about it publicly, so there weren't any huge runs, except for a couple people who were probably pretty irresponsible. Unfortunately, by talking about it when the liquidity wasn't there, they encouraged inadvertently some people to buy it and pay a much higher price, and that was really a shame. That's one of the reasons why I was so concerned about openly talking about this thing, because I didn't want people to buy it and pay more than they had to. But if you look at the original breakout, right, so it listed people who bought at the ICO sold off, and that was a pretty continuous dump. So after that, there was all this talk like it's going to go up on Binance. Again, I wasn't paying attention to Bolt then, but since then I found out they were talking about getting on Binance, and everybody was getting excited, and then the thing just dumped, and that left people bitter. Some people now who are hating on Bolt are hating on it because they got wrecked. They lost a lot of money because they bought all the way at the top, and they didn't have a stop loss because they didn't use strong risk management, and the next thing you know, they get wrecked and lose a bunch of money on the big sell-off. But I was able to get in very close to the bottom. We came all the way down and reset far below the initial listing price, much lower than the original ICO price. I only shared it with some friends, and then the Flux Trading group, our private group that I run with the Flux Trading team. Those are the only people I mentioned it to. I didn't talk about it publicly because, again, I didn't want to encourage people or make people feel like I was suggesting they buy it. That would have radically altered and affected the price, which is not my intention. I want to have nice, stable, long-term organic growth. So some of the things I'm looking for are for them to come out with new announcements. I'm looking for them to announce new exchanges, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to the most. I think once they get onto Binance, we're going to see a huge explosive move on the price of Bolt. So I really don't have the intention of selling any of my position until that happens. Maybe if it goes on a big run before then, I'll take some profit. I haven't really decided yet. For now, I have my original investment locked in with a stop loss. So if the price were to drop down suddenly, I couldn't possibly lose money, and I've locked in quite a bit of profit since it's up 300% from my entry price. So by having that stop loss there, if it were to tank to zero right now, no matter what, I would make a nice profit on it, and I wouldn't lose any of my original investment. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I would much rather continue forward, get more exposure, more people talking about it, and get up on other exchanges. I think a Binance listing is going to be huge. They're on Binance Chain now. I know that one of the reasons why Bolt appears on Binance in the Binance app under deposits, available tokens you can deposit, is specifically to allow for BEP2 conversion if you want to move your tokens to Binance Chain, essentially from the Ethereum network. However, it doesn't show up that way on the website, and I'm not sure why. But anyway, regardless, I know that doesn't indicate that it's going to be listed immediately on Binance or anything like that. But there are other reasons why I'm excited for that. One of which, it's been very stable and continuously moving back up since it bottomed out. It's a content delivery company, which Binance has been fond of in the past. They've worked with TRX pretty closely, and they like that sort of company, especially companies that are profitable and demonstrating a continuous and regular inflow of revenue. Because any company that goes on Binance that then ends up being a scam or gets exit scammed reflects badly on the exchange. That's why a lot of these exchanges have very strict regulations relating to who they will and won't list. But in the case of Binance, a company that's making money and reporting quarterly earnings with profit, actual profit margin, I think there's a really great chance. Now, one of the other things to know is Binance released they updated it since. It used to say if it's on the Binance DEX and Bolt is on the Binance DEX and it maintains $50,000 US dollars worth of daily volume on Binance DEX, then it's automatically bumped up to immediately. I don't think it's guaranteed. I think they get priority. They get to be the next coin on Binance if they do a couple of the other requirements, but having $50,000 a day of sustained volume. So the fact that people are more active buying it on the Binance DEX is huge. I think that gets us much closer to getting on Binance. However, somebody did tell me that Binance recently updated it and said, we don't even need 50K per day in volume. As long as it's performing well, we can change those rules at any time, and we don't have to require it does 50K per day. So as long as it's leading the pack and it's one of the best performing and most traded coins on Binance DEX, I think it's really great odds that it gets listed on Binance. Right now, again, some pretty popular people on Twitter have been posting about Bolt. I don't have the followers I used to, but still, a lot of my followers follow me to my new account, and we haven't seen it like radically pump, right? So some of the accusations when people say, you guys are talking about this because you want to pump the price. Well, we failed pretty miserably. We had this move when I first talked about it, that candle, and we had a couple days of upward movement, but the guys who have been heavily talking about it the last 2 days, there hasn't been some huge pump. And the reason why is because a lot of people don't trade on exchanges other than Binance. They focus on the exchanges they're comfortable with, and they don't want to get an account with BitMax or KuCoin or move over to the Binance DEX. And that's fine. I think it's good to do that because you might have an opportunity to get into certain projects. Like KuCoin has other gems, some of which I'll talk about in the future, but not for a while, that you can't get anywhere else. And if you get into them on those exchanges, you have a tremendous opportunity if and when they finally do become available on the more popular exchanges, because that's where all the money is. So again, I think it's huge to have that additional volume on Binance DEX. It's a great sign, and I really, really believe that Bolt is extremely close to getting listed on, I'm trying to kill a fruit fly, getting listed on Binance. Come on, get out of here, fruit fly. All right, but yeah, again, with the TA, we can look at the volume and you can sort of see how things were. But again, people who are talking about the new volume now as if it's a sign of it pumping, it doesn't even come close to some of the larger volume candles. Well, I guess it comes close. Months and months and months ago. It's not like a new thing, and it happens to coincide with the second the audit ended. So in here, you could take a quick look and even see, like, I don't usually work on the daily. For people familiar with my work, I have a system called Ichima. It's an Ichima dynamic support system where I have 5 dynamic support and resistance levels that allow me to enter and exit trade short term. Since this is a longer term trade, I'm not as concerned about that. But looking at it from the daily, even though I usually focus on the hourly for my Ichima model, I will sometimes look at daily 4-hour charts to get a wider view of what may or may not happen. And a lot of people who like simple, basic geometric formations like falling wedges or ascending triangles, things like that, will notice there was a massive falling wedge before we started the audit. And then the audit sort of froze everything. So imagine if this whole section didn't exist, right? So just think, the audit, we have a really big falling wedge, which is an extremely bullish indicator. I love getting into trades that are breaking out of falling wedges. Massive potential. But imagine from the bottom of that wedge to like right now, never existed. This never happened. This is, in theory, the breakout from that wedge, right? Because we had the falling wedge, and then we started the audit where we had a drop in volume and liquidity, and nobody was really trading it. The price barely moved on a daily basis, except for a few unique instances. So if you were to make that connection and sort of ignore that 3-month period during the audit, you'll see that it sort of makes sense. We had a big falling wedge, and now we are breaking out of it. On top of it, you can see a little bit, it's not necessarily a cup and handle, and I don't really like cup and handles. I think they're pretty elementary, and I don't know, it's just not a very advanced formation to identify. But you can see that sort of action where you have a rapid move up and then a retrace before another move up. And if you look at it shorter term, you could actually see there was this most recent move, and then we're retracing, and then we can move up again. The one thing that still does apply when you're not paying attention to the more recent few months during that audit, if you were to look at it, again, you can see that massive falling wedge. If you were to look at it and sort of ignore that period just more recently, you can actually look to where the price is now and find some local supports and resistance levels. If it does drop anymore, there's going to be really strong support at like 17.4 right here, because that was where we got really quickly rejected on a couple of these big moves up. There's also a retest of that. Let me zoom in so you can see it. One of the most important aspects of my trading models is support and resistance. Again, my Ichima model, ICH-EMA, because it uses EMAs, exponential moving average, and it uses the Ichimoku cloud. So I nicknamed it Ichima. The entire basis for my success, and I've been extraordinarily successful with that model. Anybody who follows me knows it works really, really well, and it's very, very simple. I've actually said to people on Twitter, are there any professional technical analysts that have professional training that can tell me that this is stupid and I don't know what I'm talking about? Because it seems like I came up with a really simple process and model that works absurdly well, and some people have actually said, yeah man, it looks great. You obviously are pretty good at teaching yourself, because I have no formal training, but it works really well. And the reason why is because I focus on support and resistance. That's the most important thing. So one of the things I always look for, I just try to identify horizontal lines. If I can see a horizontal line and we get a couple tests or retests and rejections from that line, it's a high probability if we come back down, we're going to test it again. So we saw, you can ignore the wick on this candle because that was a quick spike. A majority of the trading where it closed was at the exact same place where the prior candle closed. Actually, that's where it opened. But that resistance and support right there, once we got back up there, we had gotten rejected and then sort of hovered around it. Then we had a lot of support right on top of that support. Even these candles, it stayed a little bit further above, but that was a big support. If we were to drop right around 17,000, I think that's 1,700 sats. They add an extra zero here. There would be a tremendous amount of support. So my stop loss is clearly below that support. If there happened to be a really quick wick, like one of these big green wicks, but down, I wouldn't want to get prematurely stopped out given how important this trade is to me. But you can find supports, then you can even look at like 15-minute charts. Again, I haven't been doing a lot of technical analysis with Bolt since it's more of a fundamental trade. For those who were following me before, I talked about probably 5 or 10 tweets where I was like, guys, I can't talk about it. I'm sworn to secrecy, but trust me, I have a fundamental based trade that is the best trade I've ever made, and I can't wait to tell you about it. Well, I was talking about Bolt the whole time. I never really worried about the technicals too much. But here, short term, again, got some strong support. You can see right there, 19.8, 20,000, right? So really strong support, bounce, bounce, bounce. Bounce, 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 bounce. Getting a lot of support right there, and it also matches up where there was some resistance here. If we go back, we might actually see one of the key things with my models. I always tell people I leave these support and resistance lines on my chart indefinitely, because 6 months later you might be in a position where that ends up being a really strong support and you can enter right on it. I've talked about that in a lot of my trades that I've shared. But let's go back and see if these two supports were also valid back then. Look at that. That's pretty damn close. I mean, obviously it's a little higher, but the top of this push stopped short pretty damn close to that resistance. And then look at this one. This was also a support and resistance. Got a big rejection there, and then we pushed through, and then these candles pushed through, but then we had pretty much broke through that support and then back up. But then look, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles in a row that held right at that support. Another 2 candles that held right there. This candle held there before falling down. And then a couple candles, 3 or 4 in a row, got rejected. Once it went from a support to a resistance, got rejected right there. When you could find a support or resistance like this that was just as valid 4 months ago as it is today, you're onto something. That means there's going to be a propensity to see a lot of trading volume occurring right at that level, whether it's buy or sell orders. For whatever reason, there are a lot of people buying and selling at that price level, and that's what forms buy and sell walls. For those who haven't seen my older videos about it, I've talked about when you hear the terms buy and sell wall, all that's referring to is support and resistance, and vice versa. So if this is a resistance right now, right? So or say this was, a support. The price is up here. This is a support. What that support means is that at 16.8, there's a really, really big buy order. So if somebody were to start selling a ton, it would hit that buy wall and it wouldn't break through because you would have to sell more here to break through that buy wall. In this case, it did before it went back to supporting again. Every time somebody would dump, they would hit that wall. It wasn't until that wall fully broke that it became a resistance. And then from that point forward, they couldn't push back up above that resistance. Hopefully that makes sense. So the lower time frames, you could actually see some more recent support and resistance. If you are considering getting into Bolt, you would definitely want to look at that sort of stuff. I'll try to share some more detailed analysis if I can spot some really good support and resistance. But one of the major issues here, and the last thing I'll say about why I don't really like this for technical analysis, in addition to having the audit and kind of affecting, see all the low volume during the audit, in addition to that being an issue, this chart right here is just the coin market cap data. So I think I could actually specify Bolt BTC from Coin Paprika as well. But either way, it's going to be an aggregate of all the different exchanges. So unless I can see the data that's precisely on the exchange that I'm trading on. So if I go to KuCoin or BitMax, I could do a chart there. But doing it on this sort of chart isn't really going to help me because I'm not going to have an accurate representation of where those support and resistance levels are. But for right now, if it were to come back down another 9.6%, that 19.8 is where I would look on the other chart. So I would pretty much pull up the Bitmax chart and then see if this support is in the same rough area on the Bitmax chart, and if so, right above that would be an amazing place to enter, because if it does come down, it would bounce off of that support before continuing up. And if that support fails, you can put your buy order just above the support, and then you put a stop loss order just below the support, and that way you're only risking 2%, right? You buy at $1.01, and the support is at $1, and then your stop loss is at 99 cents, right? So if the price were to drop and fill your order and then the support fails, your stop loss is just below the support. So once that support gives out and the price keeps dropping, you already had your stop loss hit, you're out, your money is safe, you can't risk any more money, you can't take an additional loss. That's how I always trade, and I would encourage everybody to do as much research, whether it's through a group, which I'm not going to, I don't want to promote the amazing, incredible group that I'm part of, fluxtradinggroup.com, because I feel like this shouldn't be about that. But if you did want to learn about that incredible group, you should go to the website. But anyway, risk management is what you need to focus on before you do anything else. Learn how to identify support and resistance, learn how to manage your risk. And then coins like this, when you see a really strong potential FA play that has amazing, incredible fundamentals, you'll know what you need to look at to identify the best ideal entry. All right, that's that. Anybody have a couple questions? I'm not going to go crazy. Again, I've been going at this a while. I tend to ramble, and we are, I don't even know how long we've been at it. An hour and 15 minutes. Let's give it like a couple minutes for questions. Anybody have any questions? Hopefully everybody saw the different sources that I cited, so you can check out Bolt's website, look at the entire team, check out their LinkedIn, look at their Medium, and look at all the posts on their Medium, including and especially the quarterly earnings reports, which is obviously crucial to seeing that they have a significant profit margin. And check out their Twitter. Definitely give them a follow, and join the Telegram. The Telegram is filled with people who are loving and excited about this project, including analysts just like me, and people who are even more popular than I am as an analyst. So you definitely want to check that out as well. So no questions? Doesn't look like anyone's asking any questions in the thing. Yeah, he's right. I said I don't want to spend any time on TA, and then I rambled on about it for a half hour. Again, I love this stuff. It's fun, it's good, and I never have to worry about messing up because I'm not a liar. I'm not afraid of being wrong. Bolt crashes right now, I will say. I lost a bunch of the profit back. That really sucks. I was wrong about it. I'm not going to delete a tweet. I'm not going to delete this video. I have extraordinarily high expectations, but of course I could be wrong. I was wrong about Scroll, right? I didn't think Scroll was going to die. But in this case, I think you guys judge for yourself, but if you look at the stuff I just showed you, I don't see how you could possibly compare the two. That's utterly insane, which Crystal and Jamal alone are the powerhouses running this thing, and they are demonstrating that they are profitable. Oh man, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I think this thing is going to utterly explode, especially if it gets on an exchange like Binance. Forget about it. You know how much more money is going to flow in? You know how many more people are going to have access to it that won't sign up with a VPN on BitMax? Do you know how many people would love to get into this thing and just don't know how to use other exchanges? Oh man, exponential rise. I have no intention of selling a single token until then. I'm not guaranteeing it, but yeah. You guys can, you know what we'll do? How can you get, so, all right, I'm only answering this one question, but what you guys can do if you have other questions, use the link thread about this live stream on Twitter, where I posted the live stream link and said I'm going to do a live stream about Bolt. Just use that thread, ask any questions you want. And again, like somebody just posted, I don't see this as a hodl coin, it's just another shitcoin, and that's fine. If that's your opinion, that's fine. Me personally, I think it's a great potential long-term play. What I will likely do though is make my money and get out, because I'm a trader and that's what I do. I don't hold indefinitely. I'm not going to hold a coin for 5 years. What I will probably do is, if it gets on some more exchanges and we have a lot more exposure and we see a radical increase in price, I will take a substantial profit out, and then I will hold a decent amount of the token long term, since I think there is a lot of potential long term. But anybody who goes all in and puts your life savings into a coin and you plan to hold it for 5 years, I would encourage you to join the Telegram for Scroll and ask how those guys feel, because that is, and I'm not attacking them, I feel horrible for those guys, but a lot of them lost their life savings because they went all in into this coin that they thought was a sure thing. Nothing is a sure thing, guys. Nothing. Even this. As happy as I am to share it with you, as excited as I am about the potential, nothing is a sure thing, and you need to manage your risk. You put in what you can afford to lose, and if you want to go a little beyond that, that's your personal decision, but just expect that there is always a possibility that it's going to happen, and make the most educated decision you could possibly make, and that's what I would encourage you to do more than anything else. I'm not telling anybody to buy any token. I don't give a crap if you do or if you don't. All I'm telling you to do is, if you think Bolt is great or you think Bolt is bad, listen to everything I said, fact check me, and then prove me wrong. If you can find some sources that prove me wrong, share it on Twitter. I'll retweet it and apologize and say I was wrong about this and that. That's all you have to do. I have no problem with saying I was wrong about something. Fact check me, prove me wrong. You get the props, and I tell everybody that I screwed up. All right. I'm going to kill this so I can get some sleep. Again, I'm definitely have a fever now, but I really appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm sorry I spent so much time talking about all the Twitter related drama, but it really was important. People who don't know what they're talking about say like, oh, look at all this big volume. These guys are pumping and dumping. Well, clearly, if you guys know anything about me, you know that I have never in my life done anything like that, anything to indicate to the crypto Twitter community that I'm the type of person who would do that. And more importantly, it doesn't match up with the facts. The increase in volume was because the audit was over. So a lot of people are just clueless and bitter and hating on some guys. And a lot of those guys are friends of mine. I like them. I've had personal interactions with them via DM and stuff on Twitter. I've met a lot of cool people, and I hate seeing people give them a hard time. But, you know, it is what it is. You can't keep everybody happy. All right. Thanks for stopping by. If you have any more questions about this, again, use the thread on Twitter, and I will answer. And we could even do another live stream another day if you have, you know, a lot of questions. Or if any of you guys find cool sources, good, helpful sources that prove me wrong about something, I'll do a live stream and explain why I was wrong about it. I will show what you found and correct myself and correct the record. And if you find other sources that show that I missed something that was actually a positive thing, I'd love to do another live stream and talk about that. I'm going to shut up because I'm already sick and my throat hurts. Thank you again. I really appreciate you guys coming by, and all I can ask for is that you do as much research as you possibly can. It's absolutely crucial. You don't jump into anything blindly. Be responsible. Manage your risk. Take care.